He walked into the courtroom wearing a torn, dusty uniform. People stared. Some even laughed. But what the judge did next left the entire room speechless and the world inspired. This is the moment honor silenced judgment and reminded us all what true respect looks like. The courtroom was packed. Attorneys shuffled their papers, reporters adjusted their cameras, and spectators whispered, curious about the man walking through the doors. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and walked with a limp that told his story before his mouth ever could. But what silenced the courtroom first wasn't his presence. It was his uniform, stained, wrinkled, torn near the collar. Dust coated his boots, and his name tag was barely readable. To most in the room, he looked out of place, like he had just come from the street, or worse, a war zone. In a way, both were true. He had just finished a 36-hour shift assisting in disaster recovery in a neighboring state. A National Guard medic, no time to rest, no time to change, and no intention of skipping court. He had been subpoenaed to testify. And he honored it, even if it meant showing up straight from a collapsed bridge site where he had just pulled 3 children from rubble. Yet, as he walked toward the witness stand, people sneered. A few attorneys snickered. One man in a designer suit near the front muttered, disrespectful. Doesn't he know this is court? The judge, a sharp, older man with a stern face and a reputation for discipline, narrowed his eyes and called for order. All rise, the bailiff announced. The room stood, then sat. Then the judge spoke, and the entire room stopped breathing. Sir, the judge said, addressing the man in the dirty uniform, before you speak, I'd like to say something first. The man nodded respectfully. The judge removed his glasses. When I was your age, I wore that same uniform. I know what those stains mean. I know what that dust represents. It is not disrespect. It is sacrifice. He turned to face the gallery. For those of you who think this man looks unfit to stand in a courtroom, I say he looks more honorable than anyone else in this room. Because while we sleep, he serves. While we argue the law, he saves lives, silence. And today, this courtroom honors him. Then the judge stood. Into the shock of everyone present, he stepped down from his bench. He walked to the witness stand, and he saluted him. Gasps filled the courtroom. Reporters froze mid-type. The attorneys who once sneered now looked down in shame. The judge held his salute for a moment longer, then turned back. Let the record show that this man is not only a witness, he is a hero. The rest of the proceedings continued, but something had shifted. Nobody saw a dirty uniform anymore. They saw courage. They saw commitment. They saw the living proof that respect is earned not by what you wear, but by what you sacrifice. The judge's salute lingered in the air like thunder after a lightning strike, quiet but unforgettable. The man in the dusty uniform didn't say a word. He just gave a small nod, eyes glassy but proud. For a second, he looked like he might break, not from pain or exhaustion, but from being seen. Truly seen. Then he sat. You could hear the shuffle of paper, the faint hum of the air conditioner, even someone swallowing hard in the back row. And that man in the expensive suit, the one who had called him disrespectful, he shifted uncomfortably, tugging at his tie like it was choking him. He avoided eye contact, suddenly shrinking inside a suit that now seemed 2 sizes too big for the weight of shame. A woman in the jury box wiped her eye discreetly. The judge returned to his bench with a steady hand, but his voice cracked just slightly as he continued, "Proceed with your questions, counsel." But what followed wasn't just a witness testimony, that it was a moment of raw humanity. The man recounted what he saw the night of the accident, a multi-car pile-up near a collapsed overpass. But he didn't just give the facts, he gave life to the facts. He talked about the teenage girl clutching a photo of her dog as they pulled her from the wreckage. He talked about the boy who wouldn't let go of his sister's hand, even though his own arm was broken. He spoke without bitterness, without pride, just truth. One by one, the jury leaned forward, captivated not by the drama of a case, but by the decency of a man who didn't ask for thanks. He wasn't there to be admired. He was there because he was told to show up. And that's what he does. He shows up, even when he's tired, even when he's sore, even when people judge him for how he looks, even when he doesn't get the credit. After his testimony, The judge asked, "Do you require an escort or transportation?" Back, the man smiled faintly. "No, sir. I've got my truck. Just need to grab a coffee and head back to base." "You're still on duty?" Someone gasped from the gallery. He nodded. "Disasters don't clock out, ma'am." As he stood to leave, the room didn't know what to do. So they did what felt right. One by one. They stood. The jury. The attorneys. The bailiff. Even the court reporter put down her keyboard and stood up. It wasn't a rule. It wasn't a tradition. It was respect. Real, earned, unspoken respect. He gave a nod, tipped his cap, and walked out without a single ounce of pride. Just the same quiet humility he walked in with. And the doors closed behind him. For a long moment, the judge just sat there, staring. Then, he finally said, "Let the next case be heard." But the room wasn't the same. Because now they knew. Behind every dusty uniform, every tired step, every silent sacrifice, there might be someone holding the world together while the rest of us look away. And for once, they didn't look away. They saw him. As the soldier's footsteps faded down the courthouse hallway, something profound remained behind. Not just silence, but change. The man didn't ask for applause. He didn't seek validation. He showed up, exhausted, unshowered, and carrying the invisible weight of lives saved and wounds endured. And yet, in doing so, he taught an entire courtroom a lesson. No, dignity is not in appearance. Honor is not in polish. Greatness is often quiet and often covered in dust. The judge would later recount that day in a commencement speech for young lawyers, calling it the most humbling moment of his 30-year career. And the man in the wrinkled uniform? He went back to work that same day. No headlines. No news stories. Just another shift. Another disaster. Another life to save. Because to him, that courtroom wasn't a stage. It was just one more place where duty called. So the next time you see someone who looks worn down, beat up, or overlooked, remember they might be a hero in the middle of their mission. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, share it. You never know who might need the reminder that true worth has nothing to do with appearances. Like, subscribe, and remember, respect is earned in silence, not in style.